If you're looking for a smarter way to ship, look to Unishippers. We've been helping small to medium-sized businesses cut their shipping costs for more than 30 years. You'll get significant savings with UPS and more than 65 LTL freight carriers by leveraging the group buying power of our 90,000 plus customers. Unishippers is a one-stop shop for reliable shipping, significant savings, exceptional personal service, and easy online logistics management. Let Unishippers deliver for you. Call Mark and his team today.
Here at Rod Patrick, we take the fit process very, very seriously because we know the importance in your performance on how you're fit. So come in, let's give you the opportunity, tell me what you're experiencing, tell me what your challenges are, and I know together we're gonna find the right answer and you're gonna be happier than you've ever been with your boots. Come see me, and thank you.
We're just about ready to get underway. Our next exhibitor is at the gate.
They're trying to prove that they belong here.
They really have their eyes set on that podium, but this pair just hasn't been consistent.
Championship titles are elusive.
This is a difficult field.
It all comes down to this. Here we go.
When years of work come to seconds of action, give yourself every edge. Get rebound technology for faster muscle recovery with ProForce from Nutrina.
I love that, Cody Cam. He's trying to trick me now. Okay, let's hear it. The MOT, the Man of Trail. And now, from Oak Point, Texas, can I do my own intro, Kona?
Welcome to the Keeping It Real show with your hosts, the Man of Trail, Tim Kamara, and the man behind the wheel at Keeping It Real, Brad Jewett.
Check this out. Okay, here we go. We are Thursday night. Getting to Sunday, man. We're almost done here. We got 4 big days here at the Sun Circuit. I wore the purple tonight. You know, the purple, the new purple hat. Man, I was like styling, profiling, right? Brad Jewett showing right now. You know, I'm just going to sidebar because I apologize because I'm sure Brad's listening while he's trying to get over here. He won the 4 and 5-year-olds the other day. Like, I set the course and I left and I was doing my other errands over there and I didn't even know he won. And he come in last night and I didn't. He probably like, come on, Trail Man, you didn't even tell me congratulations. So I apologize because I didn't say nothing. I found out from someone else because you didn't tell me. Congratulations, Brad Jewett, for winning the 4 and 5-year-old fraternity yesterday. Anyways, and he's right there. Oh, that camera. He's my producer. I see 4 cameras, so I'm just hogging, trying to go to another one. Okay, so anyways, we have Miss Kristen Stevens, right?
Correct.
From Prather? Is that
Prather. Yep.
You know, when you go to Texas,
it all changes.
It changes to Prather. But y'all, Prather, California, like close to my hometown, Fresno and Reedley, right? Yep. Love that. Bring her in, Kona. Come on in. Wow. She's profiling, okay? Forget my purple stuff, right? Wow.
All black over here.
Man, we have just upgraded this week on the girls on our show. Wow. Loving it. Okay, so anyways, tell me where you're well, I said where you're from, but tell me about yourself a little bit, like where you grew up and how you got into horses. How's that?
So I grew up in Central California.
Yep, love that.
Been there most of my life. I spent a little bit of time out of state for a while on the East Coast. Came back, but I grew up on a cattle ranch, so I have been riding since before I could walk. Probably I started in the Western world, roping and barrel racing, and I've done that my whole life basically. Just recently in the last year, I made a switch, and I am now showing rein cow horses.
Yeah, love that. So, and then she just got done showing right now, right?
I did.
Which class did you show in?
I showed in the amateur boxing.
Yeah. Wow, so, good job. Yeah. So. Little sidebar, that's my background, right? I'm a cow horse guy from way back and stuff like that. And I worked for NRCHA for 1 year and at the fraternity in Fresno in 94. Wow, a long time ago. Anyways, I grew up with the rein cow horse people. That was how I was raised. But now I'm the trail guy, right? So kind of doesn't match, but that's how it rolls. So anyways, let's go into it a little bit. Let's talk about, we're going to talk about ulcers. Is that what?
Yeah.
Kind of jump in a little bit. Kind of just tell us a little bit about how that works, like why we should do it and how horses get that.
So the big thing with like ulcers or any kind of digestive upset, like it's kind of a broad term. We talk a lot about ulcers, but there's a lot of different digestive issues that they can run into. And I think the biggest thing, like especially being at this show, like you said, we're on Thursday. Most of us have been here for 7 or 8 days, if not
we
longer.
Got here last Thursday, I think, right?
So did I. And so we've got all these horses that were on a trailer for hours, if not days, probably to get here. And that's out of the ordinary for them, right? They're in hard training, which is also stressful, but then you put them on a trailer, you bring them to a strange place. It's busy here. There's a lot going on, and that can really kind of cause them to have some anxiety and some stomach issues.
How about, just I'm going to use ours for sure, right before we all got here, we had a big snowstorm in Texas, right? So I'm sure we all put a little stress on our horses when it became hard with the water power. It was tragic for that 1 week that we were suffering a little bit. And then we had like 2 days of sun and snow melted, and then we just brought them over here. So, I mean, just that kind of change in environment, I think probably puts a little stress on their bodies too, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that change in weather is really hard on them. Yeah. I mean, it's cold and freezing, and then the sun comes out, and then you load them up and come out here. And the weather's kind of varied while we've been out here too. We've had some cooler days, and now it's starting to warm up again. Yeah, the wind yesterday, gosh.
Did you ride in the wind yesterday?
I went indoors, but yes, I rode in the middle of it.
It was amazing. I mean, Arizona, when that sun goes down, mystery things happen here, right?
It's crazy.
And those tents and those gazebos, man, if you don't get them locked down, they're going to fly away like a kite, right? Okay, so let's keep going here. So, like ulcers, a broad term. Is that what you're telling me, right? Yeah. So so we bring our horses here, right? And we come in early so they settle a little bit, right? So I'm curious, like water would be a big thing for me. How about the change of water from West Coast water, Texas water, Arizona water?
That is definitely something, and I noticed this too. Like with our water, the water here, you can smell like it's city water. They've got some chlorination in it, and that can definitely change things. It can decrease their water consumption too, which is when they don't drink as much water, that disrupts the whole digestive process as well.
Like is that a dehydration kind of thing and electrolytes or anything like that? I mean, I'm not really smart like that, but.
Yeah, I mean, and that's something that can lead to maybe not even just ulcers, but, colic issues too. If they get too dehydrated, you can have issues with impaction and whatnot as well.
How about just new stalls, right? From your environment that you're stable in to whether stall is here or if you're in the portables or if you're over there.
Yep.
Just the horses around you, new horses.
I know in our stalls, I've heard multiple times you can, the horse is kicking in the stalls behind us.
Right.
And that's disruptive to them. I mean, especially a horse that maybe is in a pretty quiet barn at home or maybe even outdoors, turned out during the day. They're kind of in this different environment. They're looking at a lot of different horses every day. And that, a lot of times when they stress, they bring it to their gut. Like they try to internalize it before they show it on the outside.
How about this? I was watching, would you call it a podcast? Would you call it when you were outside the other day?
Oh, my Facebook Live.
Your Facebook Live show for sure. And tell me what I got from it real quick is what are the signs you're looking for if you're having some digestion problems with your horses when you get to Arizona here, like or something?
So some of the first things that I look for, especially in a show situation, is just any kind of behavioral changes. Like if they suddenly aren't eating as good. And, a lot of horses do have a harder time, staying on feed when they travel, but keeping an eye on the fact that they're drinking, eating, staying consistent. And then when you ride them, that's, as a competitor or a trainer, you get on your horse, you can tell if they feel different, right? You ask them to do a maneuver and all of a sudden they're, not happy with it, not doing it like they were before. I think about all those things as far as digestive upset, because if they're not feeling good, it's just like us. If you didn't feel good, you wouldn't want to go out and compete either. It would be harder for you.
How about, so we're at Thursday, a week's gone by here, and the first thing that flags in my head, I think something Shelly told us when she was with us too, was changing feed. So we bring so much hay from our area, and now we're buying Arizona hay or whatever. So tell me how that plays into this thing that we're doing here.
That can definitely affect it too. And I know most everybody tries to bring enough hay, not to keep them on that. As long as you're able to stay on the same type of hay, it should be hopefully somewhat similar. The hay does vary though. If you think about the type of hay or the quality of hay in Texas versus California, it varies quite a bit as far as what you're working with. So, keeping them on consistent feed, hauling your hay and your grain, as much of it as you can, is ideal for them.
So tell us, let's go into some of your products from Nutrena and stuff like that, and just tell us what they do and their purpose, or like, why would we need that?
So we have a couple of products. One of our newest products is Empowered Digestive Balance. This product is a supplement. It's a top dress supplement. So designed specifically for digestive issues. And we're not looking to treat the issue. So if you have ulcers, our first recommendation, of course, is to go to your vet. Have them scoped. If they need to be treated for ulcers, treat them. But what we're looking to do is prevent ulcers. Right. If we can get them onto some of these products before or during training, before they haul to a show, you have a better chance of not coming into an ulcer issue. So the Digestive Balance has a marine calcite in it. So the marine calcite is a high in calcium, and that is going to act like a buffer in that horse's stomach. So if you think about it, an easy way to talk about it is like if you take Tums, right? If your stomach's a little bit upset, that Tums goes in there and kind of coats your stomach, helps settle things down a little bit. When they're really under a really stressful situation, their stomach can become very acidic, and so that's going to help buffer that acid level. And kind of help prevent that, that acid from eating away at that stomach lining and creating an ulcer, basically.
So, stress comes in a lot of different packages, right? I mean, it could be riding, it can be showing, it could be the win yesterday, right?
Yep.
I could see, like I've seen, it was weird, like when the wind hit 5A over there in the covered arena and all these horses cut loose, dropped a few kids on the floor, and the horses that were pretty calm became not so calm,
yes.
And then it really made the other horses that way.
Yep.
It was like typical herd bound, and everyone was pawing, rearing, backing, scaring. It was, and I had poles all over the place, so it was kind of stressful for me, like, oh my God. Anyways, so, that, I'm kind of asking, like, we're looking for signs, and you're telling me I want to prevent it. What happens if they get an ulcer or something? Like,
if they get an ulcer, that's the thing. That's where really the only way to treat ulcers is with, Gastrogard or omeprazole. That is the treatment. That's the only FDA approved treatment for ulcers. So, like I said, go to your vet.
Right.
If they do indeed have the ulcers, we want to address that first. But horses that have had ulcers in the past, or are prone to them, or are a very nervous horse, we can't control the weather, right? We can't control a windstorm that came through and kind of stressed your horse out, but we can put them on a supplement to help prevent that maybe from causing so much of an issue. The digestive balance in particular is kind of cool because it's a top dress supplement, but you can feed it throughout the day so that you could feed it, a handful, small feeding before you throw them in the trailer.
So that's what I'm going to ask you, like how much, like a cup, okay? Like here's a cup, right? Like, is this what we're talking about? Like a cup like this?
It's pretty close to that size. So it's about like, if you took like a measuring cup, it would be like a heaping measuring cup. It's about 12 ounces is your feeding rate. And you can feed that up to 4 times a day. If you've got a horse that's very stressed out or prone to ulcers, we recommend spreading those out over 4 different feedings.
And how new is Empower?
So the Empower line has been around for a while.
Right.
The Empower Digestive Balance is probably about a year and a half or so since we launched it.
Like when you 3 girls were on our show, it's pretty impressive, like how your company works, how you're testing. And can you talk about any of that? Like how, like you test your feeds or you do your, I'll say chemistry stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
How's that go down?
So we actually have a facility, a research facility dedicated to research for our feeds. And so we spend a lot of time researching that.
Right.
But then once we go through the research process, we create the product. And then we actually use a lot of our university partners so that we have an unbiased kind of program to run these through. And they've shown, like I said, we've got the marine calcite. We also have the zinc and butyric acid, which kind of helps strengthen the cells in that stomach lining, in that whole digestive system. And all of those have been put through rigorous testing in order to show that it does work, that it is going to help your horse.
Right. And then, just horse showing's a funny little animal here, right? And you could be a roper, a cow horse, a trail horse, a showmanship horse, a pleasure horse. And we're talking a whole bunch of different characteristics, right? Like you got to be super athletic here. You got to be super calm here. You got to be super buff over here, right? So tell me how that changes, like your feeding programs, or feeding more, or feeding a different type of product, more in power. How's that work?
So depending on the horse, it varies by horse, right? Like you mentioned, here is a great example because you're in a warm-up pen. You might have reiners and ropers and some Western pleasure horses all in one pen, right? And we're all kind of around each other, but you see those different behaviors, right? You're very, very quiet horses. With those quiet horses, you want to keep them on something that's going to not get them excited, right? You want to keep them where they nice and level-headed, where they should be. So with those horses, if they're a hard keeper or an easy keeper, you'd just keep them on something with a lower starch and sugar content, something that can get them the nutrients they need without any of that extra energy.
I think, Shelly's been to Brad's place, but you guys, like yourself, right? Like if you want to consult someone, like they can call you, text you, message you here, whatever.
Yep.
And then you can just kind of give them a recommendation, right?
Absolutely.
Look at what they're feeding currently and check it out, right?
And that's probably the easiest way to do it, honestly, because every horses are such individuals, right? Just like humans, we could all eat the same thing every day, but we're not going to look the same or feel the same at the end of the day. So getting help and getting a recommendation is a lot of times the easiest way to make sure you're doing the right.
Well, like I'm just going to say it this way. Some barns, they have a feeder and it feeds the same piece of hay, the same amount of grain to each horse that goes down the barn aisle, right?
Yep.
We're saying each horse is a little individual, so some might need different needs, right? And sometimes you girls see something different than what we see because you guys know where to look.
Yep.
Right. So I think, as a service, right?
Absolutely.
Your phone number, your email, or whatever. You guys you're very good at that. I think that's what you girls do.
Yeah, I mean, that's ultimately, I mean, for Nutrena, for Cargill, that's what I do every day. You know, I'm whether I'm on the phone consulting or in person at barns, you know, going through the individual horses, looking at body condition, you know, talking about behavior, talking about if they're prone to ulcers, all of those things factor into my decision when I am going to make them a recommendation at the end of the day.
And what I think about, I said, either you get some help from consultants like that and go the right direction, or you go to the vet, right?
Yeah. Yep.
You know, when and where do you, like I said, if you're not doing your athlete right or feeding properly or what they need, pretty soon you're at the vet for an ulcer or some other deal, right? And it's going to cost you more to pay the vet bill. I love the vets. I have great vet friends, okay? I don't want to put you out of business, okay?
The vets are, I mean, that's your resource, right? We want to keep these horses healthy, sound, feeling good. You know, and for me, like I said, prevention is key. The vets, while the vets, you know, they make their living off of helping us, but they don't want your horse to have ulcers, or they don't want them to be hurt. They want to help maintain a nice, healthy horse. So I think for them, prevention is key too. I mean, most of these performance horses see vets whether they're, you know, have a problem or not. They get checked over to make sure that everything is good, rather than waiting until there's a problem and working at it that way.
You know, like I just like, sometimes we don't look at our horses that way, like measuring them, watching them, kind of like really thinking about their foods, you know, or like we do it, but you should be like, here's a good example. Like when I used to try to lose weight, which I gained it all back, you'd weigh yourself, you'd measure yourself, you'd mark down what you're eating, right? And just keep a log of it, right? Where I think we just throw the hay out there, we throw the grain in there, and we don't even know if they ate it all because it could be on the ground and someone else eats it off the ground.
So my rule of thumb, what I tell people is, you know, first of all, when you make a change, it takes a horse 6 to 8 weeks to really make a difference. It's just like us working out, right? Like I know I've done the same thing. You go do some crunches and you're like, okay, where's my abs? Oh wait, they're not there yet.
Right.
But you know, if you wait a couple of months and you're consistent with it, it will make a change. But monitoring your horse, taking pictures is a huge one. And then I tend to follow the farrier schedule because you keep the farrier on a pretty good schedule. Right. So redo that body condition or top line evaluation or take some pictures every time the farrier comes out, because then you'll notice it. I mean, I'm guilty. I can tell a pretty interesting story because I work, you know, in nutrition, but I had a mare that was a real easy keeper. And all of a sudden I looked at her and was like, what happened? You know, her top line had kind of fallen off, and, you know, it snuck up on me because I see her every day. And I didn't think about it until it was a problem. And I wasn't following my own rules. I was not keeping an eye on her. She was, you know, I wasn't really staying on top of it. So it was definitely something that that was kind of a rule I came up with after that. And I've really stuck with it, and I recommend it to everybody. It's
it's funny because all these girls love taking pictures of their horses, but maybe they should do it in the right time and the right way, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, you always take selfies with your horse and winning a trophy or just sitting there by the stall, but like add 1 or 2 more pictures in that 10,000 pictures you have.
Right.
And then put it in an album or something, right?
Yeah, take them, you know, and like with, you know, our phones, right? We can take pictures and you can put them right next to each other. Right. And sometimes that's the easiest way, because when you see your horse every day, you're not going to notice the difference right away. But if you put the pictures right next to each other, you have a lot better chance of noticing, like, oh, maybe I can see a little more rib here, or he's filling out. He's starting to look better in a different spot. How
about like your feeds in general? Like when we were on the show, or Shelly was on the show the other day, I'll use that as an example. Tina, my girlfriend, was asking too, and we started putting him on the senior. You know, she had a younger horse, and just because it says senior, he was a young horse, she said that's a good feed. So take a picture, right? We did the picture thing, and I think it's been 3 weeks now or something like that. But I have to go home and take a picture. But tell me like about the senior feed, because I seem that's pretty popular. I see it run out when I go to the feedster, right? Like it's really low on senior feed all the time, so it must be pretty popular.
Senior feed is, we talked about our veterinarians too, it's probably the most recommended feed, because most senior feeds are designed to be able to replace the horse's entire diet. But just because they say senior feed does not mean that they're only for senior horses.
Right.
I mean, I will say the horse that I'm showing here is 4, and she is eating a senior. She's eating Proforce Senior.
Yeah.
And she needed a little bit more calories than what she was getting. And palatability. She likes it a little bit better.
Yeah.
She eats it better than what we had her on before, and it worked for her. So it's not the kind of thing where, my horse needs to be a certain age to eat a senior feed. Technically a horse becomes a senior when they start to have trouble digesting or chewing their hay, or that's when a horse needs the senior. But senior feed can actually help all ages of horses.
So I'd love for you to just explain this part, because I heard it on your Facebook, was how long a horse grazes, like every day. Like if they're on pasture. I thought that was pretty interesting, because to me, I wouldn't like thinking those type of terms. But now that you're saying it, they don't get very much per bite. And they're such a big horse that they're down there for quite a long time doing that, right?
That's a really interesting point. Like the number, I mean, a horse would graze 18 to 20 or 24 hours a day if they're out on pasture all day.
Right.
And, that's, thinking about ulcers or digestive issues. Most of these horses, they're in stalls here, but most of the time they go home to a stall too. These horses are show horses. They're not typically turned out on pasture. They may get turnout time, but they're not turned out all the time.
Yeah, and you talked about the saliva, right, on the Facebook. And so what creates that saliva that helps the acid in their stomach? Is it, like if they're out in the pasture, is it just them grazing because they're chewing and...
Yep. As they chew, they create saliva, just like we do, right? Yep. You chew, you create the saliva. It helps as far as like swallowing their food, but because the saliva is naturally a buffer, it's a natural buffer. As it goes into the stomach, it helps trying to have hay in front of them all the time.
Right.
Have a slow feed hay net or a slow feeder with some grass hay or whatever hay works for you, but that way they can constantly pick at it a little bit.
Tell me if this is a myth or what this is. Okay, so Frog, T.N. Swartz, always likes to put the hay in the water and then eats it out of the water bucket. Is that ulcer, or is that just horses that do that a lot? I mean,
I couldn't say that would be ulcers
right.
Some horses just do that. I know there are horses that like to dunk their feed. Some people end up just soaking it.
Okay.
We've had horses like on the road here. We've got one in our barn this week that just doesn't drink water super well on the road. So she's getting cubes soaked because that helps her get her water consumption. Because we've got 2 or 3 water buckets in every stall, and she drinks half as much as everybody else. So it helps with keeping the feed going in, but then it also helps with that water consumption we talked about.
So is there anything else you can do if you get strange water to make your horse besides bring your own?
Electrolytes work well. Yeah. Anything you do, I recommend doing it at home first. Right. So, you can have your powdered electrolytes. Some people use Gatorade just to use something consistent. Yep. Even if you put a small bottle of Gatorade into a bucket of water, it will make the flavor of the other water taste at least similar to what's at home. Yeah. I mean, some horses are really smart. Some horses are bad about it, but for the most part, I think that that will help to make them more comfortable drinking away from home.
Yeah. I mean, like when you're cleaning stalls and all that hay's in that water bucket and you got to dump the water, and it's always pretty complicated.
Yeah, it can be a mess, but at the end of the day, if they eat it out of there, I mean, they're not hurting anything. They're getting some water and they're getting their hay also.
Kona, I'm going to do the rapid fire for her. Let's try something.
All right.
Okay, 10 more questions. Okay.
10 questions, got it.
Maybe 11. I have a ringer question. So I know. Okay. Oh yeah, I love my music. Wow. Okay, so a little rapid fire, Kristen Stevens. Okay, which picture on your wall has the most lasting memories? A picture in your house, in your wall, anywhere?
So I have a drawn picture of a horse that I just sold, who was probably my once in a lifetime horse, and that one would say I've got lots of memories with him.
What's the name of that horse?
His name was Nico.
Nico. Okay, very good, excellent. Okay, name a sandwich you would order at Subway or Jimmy John's.
Turkey. Always turkey. Nothing fancy.
What do you put? Everything on it?
All the veggies. Jalapenos for sure.
Oh wow. Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. If you had to sing karaoke with a friend, who would it be, and what song would you sing?
Oh, that's a tough one.
No, a partner you hang out with it, you drink with it, and you sing.
Well, I don't know. I'd have to have somebody pretty brave because I'm not very brave when it comes to karaoke. I'd have to sing.
Do you drink
something.
very much?
I mean,
Well, you just need to drink more. That's all. It's liquid courage. Okay.
we might have to come back to that one. I'll have
Liquid
to
courage.
think
Okay, we'll
about
pass on that. We'll
someone.
come back. Okay, name a male movie star that you find attractive.
Channing Tatum.
There you go. Name.
No hesitation.
That was a fair question, right? All day long. Okay, name a sports athlete that you admire. Wide range. Any sport you like.
That is a very wide range.
No bull rider back there. No sail bronc rider. No roper. No basketball player. No football player.
You know, I mean, this could be a little controversial, but I really respect Tom Brady.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
There you go. There you go.
showing everybody what he's doing, right?
Yeah. Great answer.
Yeah.
You jumped right in there. Okay. Which fictional character do you believe is most like yourself?
Oh my God, these are hard questions.
I know, nothing easy. Not challenging. They're not hard. They're
Oh my
challenging. You have a
goodness.
fictional character?
Sometimes I think, and this is weird, but like the little Tasmanian devil.
Yeah.
Because I'm a busy person.
Yeah.
I mean, so this
Little
is the most I've sat all day.
Little
so-
tornado coming through there
Yeah,
and stuff
I
like
just kind
that,
of
right?
move around real quick.
Wow. Okay. Where have you enjoyed riding a horse that was outside an arena and not at a horse show or a rodeo event?
I take my horses to the lake and swim them in the lake every summer. I love it.
Yeah, all day long. Name your favorite horse show or major horse event.
Well, I mean, I have to say sunset.
Okay, yeah, that's the right answer. But I was just, maybe check you out. You never know. You might throw something else out there. Name your favorite kind of donut you would choose at a donut shop.
Maple glaze.
Okay, good. Okay, last one, easy one. Okay, name your favorite thing about your job.
I love helping people.
Yeah, for sure.
That is my helping people and helping horses. That's my number one thing.
Sidebar, do you have a belt buckle, either the one you have now or a memorable one that you like? I mean, I know mine, but
I have the very first belt buckle that I won, and I have the picture of it. And I was probably 5 years old, teeny tiny little girl with this belt buckle that was like this big.
Like a plate, right?
Yeah, it was huge.
Like a little plate.
And that was the very first one I won, and probably the most memorable.
yeah,
for sure.
excellent. Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. There you go. That's the right answer. You want back to karaoke after the break?
After the break, I'll have to
Okay.
think about that one.
Welcome, Brad Jewett. I'm just going into commercial break right here. We'll do one commercial and we'll bring you in.
Hey, there we go. Yeah, sorry about that.
And how'd you
Just
do?
got Francis Jr. She was pretty good.
Okay.
She's tired.
So one last, at the beginning of the show, I don't know if you listened in at the beginning of the show. I did recognize that you won the 4 and 5s yesterday, and that you didn't tell me, and I didn't ask about yesterday.
You did recognize it yesterday?
I did this
Oh,
at
thanks.
the beginning of the show because I said we never mentioned it, and I never asked, but I never saw
all
any
good.
of it
It's
either,
all
right?
good.
And then someone told me that today. I said, "Oh my God, I'm such a bad partner over here. I didn't even ask how you did."
I showed like 7 times, 8 times yesterday, and for me that's a lot. So it was just a blur to that point. So
Congratulations. Then.
thank you.
And then
Thank you
get
very
out of
much.
college. Come, let's bring a commercial in, and then we'll come back.
Welcome back to the Keeping It Real show. Thanks for watching. Sorry, I was a little delayed finishing the junior trail up today, but I'm sure we were in good hands here with Mr. Kimura.
Yeah, me shooting the basket from everywhere. We're going to ask this question, this one.
It's all good. It's all good. So I'm sorry because I didn't get to catch the beginning of the show either. So if I repeat something, say, hey, we already covered that.
All right, no. So, hi, Tina Vollmer. What have you guys been eating? So my girlfriend doesn't cook very well, so I was wondering, how's your diet?
Are they microwave eaters when you're gone?
She's been making something lately. I forgot what it was, but it was like something decent that maybe you make that over and over and over again. But I'll be home in about 4 or 5 days, but it's all good.
I'm a eat outer when my wife's gone for the most part, and I like to cook, but I still like to cook for myself.
Yeah, and then Tina Vollmer, she's probably looking for a coupon or something like that. She's trying to ask a question here. Okay. You want to read her question? Can you read it?
Okay. When we first arrive at a long distance horse show, the horses get a hay bag full of alfalfa and a hay bag of grass. They usually eat grass hay for a few days. Is grass hay softer on their stomach?
So, kind of two parts to that question, really. My big recommendation there is you want to stay consistent when you get to the horse show. So if they've been on just grass hay or just alfalfa hay at home, you do want to keep them consistent. That being said, alfalfa does have a higher calcium content, so that will help, is a natural stomach buffer.
What about the quantity? Like, because I don't know, maybe they don't give a full hay bag at home or of both. So because I know for me and my horse, I don't give them a full hay bag of alfalfa, but when I get to the horse show, we hang a full half a bale in their stall and just let them graze on it for a couple of days.
Make their
and then when
bags
it gets empty,
before they leave.
So are you saying that it's the quantity's not the issue, or just what they get? I mean, explain that a little bit.
Say the quantity is fine
Okay.
as long as you're not. I don't like to just introduce something new to them, especially when you're traveling. I would, if anything, just feed it for a few days before you leave, because that kind of gets their gut used to it, to digesting it and to processing something a little bit different. They've gone through enough stress getting to the show and being in a different place that to really to change is harder.
Right, because I think that she's along the same line as I am, because it looks like she goes that they get as much as they want at home as well. Yeah.
And then her second question was about a stomach buffer and stuff like that.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I took that back. So, yeah, go ahead and go to the stomach buffer, and then we'll go back to the other.
Yeah. So alfalfa is, like I said, has a natural buffer to it because it's got the higher calcium content. Most of these supplements, like the Empower that I talked about, has that calcium, the marine calcite. So that's a natural buffer also. So really you can, if they're used to the alfalfa hay, that's perfect. Put the alfalfa and the grass in there, kind of let them work through what is going to work best for them. And then, as far as adding in, I recommend, especially for a horse that's prone to ulcers, adding something like the Digestive Balance to their diet right before you go, or, a week or so before you leave, in order to help kind of keep that buffering going.
Got it.
And then tell me this about the horses so we have, you can drop the feed on the ground and feed them there, or you can put them like in a trough kind of thing, that's higher up. What's the difference when a horse eats this direction higher or eats lower, like a pasture?
They do say it is better for them to eat with their heads down.
Yeah.
That's kind of more natural for them. Like we talked about the grazing, right? They'll graze for 18 to 24 hours a day. Their head is down when they do that. I think horses have been successful at eating with their head, eating out of a hay bag.
Right.
If you're able to hang it kind of lower, if you're able to have, if you feed cubes or something, some on the ground, something for them to get their head down. But typically when they eat out of a hay bag, they drop a bunch out of it, and then they end up with their head down. Yeah. So I think these horses have kind of adapted to the way that we feed them too.
How about like the hay itself? I mean, is there a general recommendation, like how much it should have in it and stuff like that? Or is it about the horse again, or how to use them?
You mean like pounds per day?
Or pounds, and then like how much like protein, I guess, would be in it? Like,
so it kind of depends on the horse for sure. I mean, the horses, depending on the type of horse, have an amino acid or protein requirement. Your alfalfa hays are going to be higher in protein. Your grass hay is a little bit lower. But kind of having that combination and then balancing it with your concentrate. That's the big thing, is getting that balance right. And it kind of depends on the horse because, a real easy keeping horse, alfalfa hay has a lot more calories than grass hay. So if you fed just straight alfalfa, a lot of times they may get a little bit too heavy.
The concentrate you're saying is a grain?
Is a grain.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was late to the party, so I had to ask.
Those words get used interchangeably, but I know it's confusing to people. So yeah, concentrate would just be like a pelleted grain.
How about this? Like I'm sure you girls go out to different barns and stuff like that. What's a common thing that, let's say, a horse trainer or barn manager doesn't know so much about nutrition? What's something basic or that you evaluate or tell them to think about first?
Thinking about just balancing their diet.
Yep.
A lot of times, I get this a lot with horses that are easier keepers, actually, where they look great on hay. And they might look great, body condition looks pretty good, hair coat looks pretty good, and they think, well, I just feed them about a pound of this grain. But, our biggest thing is when we make a grain or bagged feed, we put a feeding recommendation on there. And that's not... that is for nutrition. That's to get the nutrient content that they need, and that's to help balance out their diet. So if you have a feed that says 4 to 5 pounds a day and you feed 1 pound a day, it would be like taking your multivitamin and cutting it into 4 or 5 pieces and only taking a part.
Gotcha.
So, and then on the flip side, if you do that and say your horse is an easy keeper and you said, oh my gosh, I can't feed 5 pounds of this feed, that's when I tell people, let's look at a different product. There are products out there, there are diet balancers that have a feeding rate of like a pound or 2 a day versus 4 or 5 pounds a day. Okay. So that's kind of a big thing there and I think it kind of scares people away because they'll look at it and think, oh my gosh, I can't feed that much. But then they'll just keep feeding a smaller amount. And if your horse is an easy keeper, sometimes they look okay, but inside they won't be quite balanced.
So go ahead.
Well, I just want to say, Tina, if we didn't completely answer your question, type exactly what you wanted. But I think we answered it. Just saying. Okay, go ahead, Tim.
Yogurt, Costco chicken, yogurt, fruit salad.
That's what they're eating while you're gone.
Is that your question? How to cook that? We can YouTube that. Okay, right?
Sounds like what I've been eating in my trailer this week.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. Okay, so
we need to segue to the fuel. Is what we had talked about.
Let's go.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the product again.
So we talked about the Digestive Balance, more of a top dress supplement designed to be put on top of your grain. What we didn't talk about is, and like thinking about your barn, right? Your horses are all on ProForce fuel. That product has a built-in digestive additive in there. So that marine calcite that I talked about is included in the ProForce fuel, but ProForce Senior, and then is also in the Safe Choice Perform product. So you're able to get that, feeding those products, you're getting that buffer. And so you may have some horses that maybe are real prone to ulcers that you could add the Digestive Balance on as a preventative, but you're able to get that extra, that as well as your pre and probiotics and all those goodies.
I've been a huge proponent of it. You saw the show. If you didn't see the show, go back and watch the show with Shelly where we had some before and after pictures. But, I was speaking off air. My horses here are doing great. My 10-year-old horse, she was 3 first and a second in the horsemanship today. She just had a great Western riding run. My 4-year-old wins the 4 to 5-year-old trail yesterday, goes out second in the Western riding, third in the junior Western riding, does the green Western riding, goes out today, does the green trail, second in the green trail. I don't know where she's at in the junior because the app's not working, but my point is on my 4-year-old, she's showing a lot,
right?
And she still looks good. She still has that, which we called, I think it was bloom was the word or something, but she still has that. She still walks around with her ears up. She goes, I'm tired, but I'll give it all I got kind of feel. And my other one, Dice, that we showed in the pictures, he won the level 1 Western riding today with Liz. And so I'm super happy with how they are at home looking, performing at home, but then coming to the horse show, traveling 1,000 miles, getting off the trailer, getting in gear and going and showing too, with the heat. It was a little warm today in the sun anyway. And I have to say, I mean, we've had good sun circuits in the past for sure, but I mean, I feel like with the level of competition we're competing against, they're all at the top of their game. So super happy with the Pro Force fuel. And the one is, and the 10-year-old's on the Pro Force Senior,
right?
Because he'd tried to founder last year, so we put him onto that. So he's doing great.
I see that Russell has.
Yeah, I was going to say Russell
there. So
too, right?
He made a comment, and this is I was going to mention this. So the big thing, like you said, the rebound technology that we have added into the Pro Force line is huge. You know, they, like you said, your horses have been showing really hard, and I'm sure they were being trained really hard at home. And that technology, in order to help those muscles recover and stay strong, is huge. Because if you run out of gas at a long show like this, you're in trouble, because you might do well at the beginning, but if they don't have the energy or the stamina, you get into trouble there.
Absolutely.
And so keeping their gut feeling good, but also keeping them strong and healthy. And I mentioned earlier, like, prevention is key when it comes to ulcers.
Big time.
But preparation too, like having your horses feeling and looking good before you get to the show is how you're going to keep them feeling good throughout the show.
Well, and the Dice horse was a huge ulcery horse in the past, and his maintenance has become so much easier, honestly. So I'm so thrilled with Nutrena and what you guys have brought to the table for us. The one-on-one communication through Shelley, but I know it'll continue to move forward, and there's more opportunities. I did have a horse that when I was riding at home, man, he felt super ulcery, and I just couldn't get where I wanted to go. So I took him to the vet, had him scoped. Sure enough, bad bleeding ulcers. So I'm really excited, and he had only been there a month, I think, and so, excuse me. So I'm excited to see. We're going to put him on the Empower, and he's on the Pro Force fuel, and then, of course, the treatment for those as well. So I'm really excited to see when I get home, because he'll have a month off, and then we'll go back to work on him. So I'm really excited to see his change.
I think you'll notice too, like, one thing that we don't talk about it so much with ulcers and, necessarily with a product, but their overall condition will improve too.
Yeah.
Because if they've got ulcers, they're not digesting and utilizing their feed right. So once you get the ulcers healed up and you get some preventative, I think that bloom, that Shelley mentioned, like, you'll start to see that really come back.
And that's exactly, even before, because when he had swapped to our feed, even before I had realized that he was ulcery or whatever, he had already started to shed off. He's a buckskin, and so he started to get the pretty dapples, and he had already kind of started to fill out a little bit, which I was kind of excited about, but I'm like, something's still not right. And so now I'm excited adding the Empower, and then, our other ulcer treatments, but he already is. He's starting to bloom. He looks like a completely different horse. The owner hadn't seen him in a month, and she came down, the chiropractor came to town. She's like, needs to work on my dog too. So she brought her dog and came in, and she's like, my gosh, he's really changed, like, just his look.
Just for our show and stuff like that, as I look and listening, we've had great shows with Nutrena. We do the stories with people and stuff like that, but at the same time, helping people like this in a different way, right? Bring them the information and stuff like that, being able to ask questions. Like, they might be shy to come ask you guys sometimes. So it's super cool that you're here. If they had questions, they can ask the questions, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that's the key to it. Just not for you guys, but how do you get the help? Like Trail, you ask us. We answered the question, okay? If we don't know nutrition about a horse, or we're having trouble with a horse, we ask you, right?
Yep.
And you guys you've been so friendly so far. What are you guys doing? So you've been so friendly so far, and it's been so great. I think, for him and us, right? Because we've been using the products too. It's super cool that something we might not know, right? And you guys have come in and helped us, and then we love promoting your guys' product too at the same time.
This is what I'm doing. Because
how come it was off? It's been on all week. We love Nutrena.
Awesome.
It was on all week, and then my wife came in here and did her show that's on Tuesday night, and
Monica
it's a fitness show.
She didn't want to do
for humans, and so she didn't have the Nutrena on there. So I was like, Kona, where's the Nutrena sign? Like, this is the perfect time for it.
Right. Okay.
So
we're gonna
anyway, here we go.
go
I'll just,
Nutrena, man.
I'll
We-
just hold it the rest of the
Yeah.
night, just
Yes.
like this. How about that?
We thank you for our banner too.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. And the one in my arena as well. Because all of my horses, when I put it up, they're like, what's that? This was perfect.
The best training.
It
I
is.
have all of our old banners actually in my arena for the babies.
I mean,
so that they look at them.
Yesterday, my junior Western rider, I walk out there and like all the banners on this side are flapping,
Right.
you know, and the one up above the Bloomers trailer flapping. And she walks up there like, no big deal.
Thanks, Nutrena.
Thank you, Nutrena. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
You bet.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm kind of on my side. You have any questions over there?
I don't think so. That kind of caught me off guard because I know there's questions because it really intrigues me because my wife is into human fitness and I think if there's anything that you haven't said about it, it's not just the protein and the fats. It's the digestive aids that you guys put into your foods. Because I know as humans, that's super important. I mean, there's so much bad gut health in our world from the food that we eat. So if we're doing the same thing for our horses, oh my gosh.
Right.
I mean, you can be the best horse trainer in the world. And if that thing doesn't have a good digestion, they're not going to perform to their peak. So if there's anything else that you haven't mentioned tonight, because I know I came in a little bit late, but if there's anything else you want to mention to that, I just think that is so super important.
I think you actually hit on a really good point there. And like relating it to human nutrition is one of the easiest ways to kind of understand that because I think we understand how we feel, right? And when we eat food that's we know isn't good for us, but maybe tastes good, but
Right.
You don't feel very good after.
Right.
And so, I relate a lot of it. Like we think about the rebound technology with our amino acids. As an athlete, I'm a runner also. So, and I
Nice.
take a lot of amino acids and whatnot after runs or workouts. And, but it's overall nutrition, your vitamins, your minerals, your pre and probiotics for your gut, all of that work together.
Right.
And it really does. Like they will overall feel better if they have a good quality diet.
I've been married to Monica. It'll almost be 10 years coming up soon. And my whole health has changed. That's how I feel. It doesn't have to do anything with working out or doing any of that kind of stuff. It's just how I've learned to eat better. And she's not a Nazi. She doesn't make me do anything. Because she knows the science is right. She's like, okay, go ahead, eat that. And so I do. When we're home, we're fairly good about it. And then I come to the horse shows and I'm like, holy smokes, I'm not going to say any names, but I need this or that. And I feel a difference in a bad way, and so, she's constantly trying to get me to bring healthy things to eat because we have a lot of them at the house. She's like, why don't you just take this? I was like, it'll melt or it'll not be in the right temperature because all those things are important to temperature. Maybe that's something you can share too, because when I unloaded here, I usually just put the hay and grain like everybody else in between the barns. And I'm like, maybe that's not the best thing for the grain.
So I think in the temperature we're at here, it is an adjustment, right? It's
if it's in like directly in the sun or whatever,
you
right?
don't want it in the direct hot sunlight like all day.
Like cooking?
Out here, I think because if you're in between stalls, it's getting quite a bit of shade too.
Yeah, part of the day anyway.
But a lot of it is like the moisture. You really want to keep the moisture out of it more so than anything because if the sun's on it all day, it will create some moisture there. And just making sure it doesn't, have like mold issues.
Right,
really.
sure.
That's the biggest thing
Sure.
and if it, it hasn't been getting damp here at night, but that's the hard thing when you store stuff outside. It gets a little bit damp and then it gets warm and then you just create that environment to have some issues.
Because she constantly chews me out because a lot of the products that we use are, as far as vitamins or whatever, are temperature sensitive. In other words, they're going to lose their intensity if they don't get taken care of properly. So we put all our grain inside and put it in all the hay's outside, but all the grain's inside just because I think it's, you don't want to lose the amino acid, the effectiveness of that. I know you're not going to lose it all, but you don't want to lose it. You don't want to take the chance of doing it. So, because it's super important.
Yeah, feeds are pretty hardy, but better to be safe than sorry too, right? You don't want them out there, and it is the same for human, like as human stuff. You think about things.
Russell asked us to ask you about Boston.
Oh goodness, he wants me to talk about my running. He's referring to the Boston
Marathon.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
Good job.
I ran
So
it.
you're a long
once.
distance runner.
I am. Yeah, I ran Boston 2 years ago, and then I was supposed to run it last year when COVID hit.
Oh, tragic.
I ran it virtually, and then I was qualified again for this year, and it's been tentatively set up for September, so we'll see.
It'll
But
happen.
I hope
Texas is
so.
leading the way. It'll happen.
I hope so. Yeah. Yep.
Maybe Texas doesn't have much influence on the East Coast,
Yeah.
though.
It must be track week because we both girls were trackers this week,
yeah, that's
right?
right.
Nutrition trackers, you know, pretty important. I mean, the nutrition part. I mean, compared to what like Monica, she's a fitness girl, right? You know, like fitness to the T, right? And like he says, now I don't want to say the term you use because that's going to feel like we're going to get a knock on us. The term you use, right? Can I tell you my? I'm going to go for it.
Yeah, go for it.
So Mark Costanza, right? He's out here and talking
Yeah.
to me the other day, and he was telling me that Abby, his wife Abby,
Oh, gosh.
was commenting on these people that had these chinks. Okay, you know the leather chinks that the ranch riders wear and stuff like that.
They're actually chaps.
Yeah.
For those of you who are watching this that actually want to know what that word means, it's not derogatory.
Not
it's actually
Chinese.
a piece of
It's our leggings or
their
coveralls.
leggings, their coverings that cowboys use.
Yeah. So for the brush and stuff like that, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So-
Riding through the
So they were
wild.
kind of like girly turquoise pinky, and
Yeah.
she was commenting on these chinks, right? And she got demerted on Facebook
Yeah,
because they thought she was being racial about it.
yeah.
Of all people, Asian guy here, right? So, chinks, come on, like whatever. Anyways, because you made a comment before, and I was like, okay, we're gonna get demerit on that side too.
Hey,
So,
I'm all-
anyways,
hey,
we're
we know
trying
what
to
we're
be
doing.
a good people, and we're gonna show some definition since they didn't understand what those meant.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for telling us the story, Mark, because it really
Mark.
is. It's you know those terms. I'm sorry, I don't want to go
Yeah, we
wax
won't go rogue,
political
yeah.
here, but you know I had one of the masked people today. I said, and I won't say their name, but I said, "Are you such and such?" He's like, "No. Why are you asking?" I said, "Because you look like the guy I talked to. This name is such and such." He's like, "Oh, no, my name is such and such." And he goes, "You know, I was talking to somebody else. They said they asked me if my name was such and such."
Heidi Razor.
And he said, "No." He goes, "Why?" He goes, "Because such and such's name walked into our tack room when the ladies were changing." And he goes, "No, my name." He goes, "That was really racist." And I looked. He goes, "Don't you think that was racist?" I said, "No." He was an Hispanic guy, okay.
Right.
And I don't know how old he is, but I'm just like, that's part of where, you know, if maybe this conversation will trigger something, but let's quit using those terms. Let's just accept people for who they are.
So
and
March 10th,
how they
time to
are.
go back to Texas.
March 10th,
Man,
we'll be in Texas.
Almost.
We'll be in
Almost.
Texas.
we're close.
Anyway,
Wow.
sorry. Thanks for
Chris.
letting me
Yeah,
kind
we
of.
both got our little thing.
I was
in for
happy with that conversation because he didn't get defensive.
Yeah, yeah.
He kind of was like, "Oh, okay, yeah."
You have any mass stories for this week?
I have been asked times. I've been trying to be very good
Oh,
about
yeah,
it, but
me
I don't
too.
have
I'm
any.
trying.
I mean, I've made friends with the guys over by my stall.
Listen to this
so-
one.
mine.
I know,
Yeah.
but listen to
I
this.
have mine in my pocket.
Tell her when she did her Facebook Live how she did it so she didn't have to put her mask on.
Well, that was special rules for our Facebook Live, but they allowed us to do the Facebook Live as long as we were socially distanced and the people on camera were holding a horse.
Was this for Neutrino?
That was Fun Circuit Facebook
Okay.
page.
Okay. Oh yeah.
But yeah, that was the only way they allowed it just for that.
That's just like the interview they did for me after I won the trail. She said, "Here," I said, "I'm going to give my horse to the owner, take it back." She's like, "Well, if you give it to the owner, you have to wear a mask." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm holding the horse."
yeah. I think that's
Complicated.
They're trying to make it easy because I don't,
Right.
Facebook Live. I told them, I said they can't understand me with a mask on.
Right,
So
absolutely.
it worked out.
Awesome.
I've been looking for a stick horse to carry
I
around.
think it's a good idea.
Okay.
Ride your horse
An
around
Asian
all
stick
day.
horse, okay? It's okay.
Love it. Kona, give us some music.
Okay.
Thank you so much,
Kristen,
Kristen,
thank
for
you so
coming in
much.
tonight.
Thanks for having
Oh,
me.
you know what I didn't ask, and maybe you talked about it before. How has your horse show been? You show the cow horse, right?
I do.
Did y'all
Show
talk
cow
about that
horse.
before?
Bit? Not bad.
Yeah,
What's the
not-
name of your horse?
Her name is Stunned Can Cat. I call her PJ.
PJ, okay.
Her and I are very new to the cow horse world still, and we're doing okay. We're doing pretty
Very good.
Yeah.
So how new is new?
This is Today was the 4th time I've shown her. This is my 2nd show.
And have you done cow horse in the past, or this is like your first
This is my
foray?
first go
Wow.
at it. My
Okay.
very first cow horse show was in February. No, end of January.
Okay, so that's really new.
It's very new. I
That's really new.
was a barrel racer and roper and lived on a ranch my whole life, but it's a challenge.